Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
This is the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, and Brian Murphy.
Welcome to the show. Jeff, Eric, and Brian with you here, recording this on St. Patty's Day, Wednesday, March 17th. I'm wearing green. Guys, are you wearing green?
As an actual Irish person, no.
Yes, Murphy. Wow.
I'm not.
All right. Way to represent the brand there, Murphy.
I mean, as someone who doesn't like beer and is not a Catholic, this is.
But is Irish? How'd you pull that trifecta?
I know, right? Is Irish, not Catholic, and doesn't like beer. I don't know. I'm a unicorn. This holiday isn't much for me, but hey, go on with your bad self.
See, I'm part Irish. I was raised Catholic. And I'm okay with beer. I don't know. I didn't drink any tonight, but that's because I haven't been drinking any beer in 2 years, so because I want to be, healthy. And yet here we are.
Oh, God. Jeez.
I know. I'm going to catch some crap for that. What about you, Lopez?
I am
holier than thou. Holier than thou. Jeff Sharon.
I'm like Murph. Isn't St. Patrick's Day for us every day? I mean, we don't need an excuse to drink, right, Murph?
No.
Depends on what you're drinking. Anyway, we're 30 seconds in and we've already gone off the rails. We got a lot to talk about here. We're going to talk first segment. We're going to do all basketball. Women's team is in the NCAA. They got in. It was a big moment. Highest seed ever for UCF. 10 seed playing Northwestern in the first round. We're going to recap the men's team as they bowed out of the American Athletic Conference basketball tournament, despite what I would categorize as a valiant effort all the way around. We got baseball and softball in segment 2, and how about the volleyball team, which we'll talk about more in our third segment today, with just rolling Cincinnati up in Cincinnati. They're just a juggernaut right now. But we begin with UCF women's basketball. They are going back to the dance. Second straight time that UCF has made the NCAA tournament. Of course, there was no NCAA tournament last year. UCF made it in 2019 as an at-large. They make it again this year as a 10 seed. That's the highest seed ever in school history. And the Knights are heading out to San Antonio. They will play on Monday, March 20th, 4 p.m. tip. Against the Northwestern Wildcats in the first round in San Antonio, Texas. Remember, the women's tournament is where the men's tournament is being played in and around Indianapolis. The women's tournament is being played in and around San Antonio. They will be playing at the Bill Greehey Arena. So any Knight fans who are out in San Antonio, that's where you can check them out. The Bill Greehey Arena, by the way, is the home of St. Mary's University in San Antonio, if anyone is interested in it. But they get there despite losing to USF in the conference championship game. It was a little touch and go there, Eric Lopez. We weren't sure if they would get in. There was some shenanigans with the Missouri Valley Conference that had us a little bit concerned there for a little bit. But in the end, UCF, according to Charlie Cream, was the last team in. And the Houston Cougars, who we were concerned might steal UCF's bid because they happen to exist within the state of Texas, was the last team out. Now, they're kind of a COVID alternative just in case someone can't go. The Cougars are, but nonetheless, the Knights are going to the tournament. And was it really as close as we were thinking?
Yeah, it was very close. I mean, I think the interesting thing that plays out there with UCF a 10 seed, that's a little misleading because, well, first of all, the women's basketball committee has no clue how to seed, so they're incompetent. So let's just start with
Here
that.
we go, Murph.
And by the way, God, is it too hard to do a selection show and ask the committee person, hey, why did you put this team in? Why did you leave this team out? Instead of sucking up to the 1 seeds. Good Lord. Anyway.
But didn't they do that in the latter hour of the the first hour was the selection? They didn't do that at all.
No, they were too worried about Gino and his health and UConn and this sport it's a wide open field. Yeah, right. Please stop. Gino can take the first 2 rounds off and win by 25. But anyway.
Can we not make light of Gino Auriemma's current health?
Yes,
please?
Can we avoid that, please?
He's good. No, he's good. He says he's good. He's shocked. He doesn't know where he got it. My point is he's good. If hopefully he's good, and that's the good news. He's fine. They don't need him in the first 2 rounds. Hell, they don't need him until the final 4. I would argue. Okay, how about we worry about? Because I do feel bad for Houston. Because they didn't get an explanation on the TV show. You had to go to the post production, they had like a teleconference, and of course the committee person gives a non-answer. Well, they're really good. They had some good wins, but not enough.
I'll tell you why they didn't get in. It was because they lost 3 times to UCF. That's why they lost. If the choice was between UCF and Houston, UCF won.
Well, but I think the issue I would have with that is why should there be a choice to begin with? Why couldn't the league get 3 teams in? And you wonder if, to your point, what would have happened if Houston would have knocked off UCF in the semis? Would they have flipped them? They probably would have. But beyond all that buffoonery nonsense from the women's committee, which is an embarrassment and should be in shame of themselves, for UCF, they were one of the last 4 in. But I think they did more than enough they should have been in. And I do think the 10 seed probably balances itself out. Even though for whatever reason the committee is seeding now automatic teams at the 11, but they got in, and the important thing, that's huge considering all that's gone on this year. You lose arguably the greatest player in program history, at least in the definitely in the D1 era, maybe in KK Wright. People question how good you would be this year and things like that, and to get an NCAA tournament bid about is huge, and it's a incredible credit for them. I think Coach Abe is the greatest women's basketball coach in program history now. I think that is cemented. And I think we'll get into it, but they have a pretty favorable opening round matchup. Now, the second round, we don't need to talk about that. That's going to be rough. But remember, this program has never won a first round game. So let's just try to make that history.
Yeah.
And I think they have a shot to do that.
Well, the history of UCF, this is the 6th appearance in the NCAA tournament. Their first was in 1996. When they were a 16 seed and lost to Louisiana Tech. This is last time they made it in 2019. They were a 12 and lost to a 5 seed Arizona State, 64-45 in Miami. This is a different situation now. They're playing a Northwestern team, which comes in as a 7 seed. They finished 5th in the Big Ten, 15-8 overall, 11-7 in the conference. This is the number 1 team in the country in turnover margin. They're plus 9.61 per game, so that's number 1 in the country. They force teams, or rather, they don't. The reason why it's so good is they don't turn the ball over. They're 6th in the country in fewest turnovers per game at 11.3, and their assist-to-turnover ratio is 1.0. They also get a fair amount of steals. Their guards are pretty good. They're 8th in the country in steals at 11.7 a game. So this is a pretty good offensive team in Northwestern. They average 68 points per game, but they're. From even though they lost to Maryland, who was the number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, by 33 points, they're kind of coming in, I think, riding a little bit high here. So they present a unique challenge for UCF, considering that UCF has the number 1 scoring defense in the country, one of the best field goal percentage defenses in the country as well. So a team that forces you to make mistakes is playing against a team that doesn't make mistakes. So it's the unstoppable force facing the immovable object here, isn't it, Murph?
Yeah, but like Northwestern, like also doesn't like they do both. They don't turn the ball over and they steal the ball away from you. So it's not like they do both. They do both facets really well. It's not like there's not a part of their like they're not weak on one side or the other. Like they take care of the ball and they steal it from you. So for UCF, I think this game really does boil down to just like not making mistakes and not making the kinds of mistakes that we saw against USF in the finale. Mm-hmm. But the way that this UCF defense is playing, and this is not a fantastic Northwestern offense. I think they're only averaging like 68 points a game.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a game, if UCF has it to their pace, a game that's probably in the high 50s, mid 50s to high 50s, and it's probably going to be close. And in those last 4 minutes, can you make the right plays? Can you make the right passes? Do you take the right shots? Do you panic? Do you get
can
tight?
you protect the basketball? I mean,
right,
Northwestern forces 20 turnovers a game and gets 22 points off of those points. That's what
I mean.
Right?
I'm making the right plays. Like
yeah,
this is gonna be a close game late, and so can UCF just make the right plays late? And whoever basically, I know like this is all like cliches, but like in this type of game where it's gonna be low scoring and close, like down in the last 3 minutes, whoever makes the fewest errors is gonna win this game.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and listen to Coach Abe. She was talking about how, she spoke in the presser after the reveal on how complex the emotions were as they were waiting for the team and waiting and hoping to see their name come up on the board. And she was in a pretty tough spot as a coach, trying to figure out, trying to plan out what she would say based on whatever scenario happened.
It's just very nerve-wracking. It's been very nerve-wracking, and having to wait till, what was it, the third round that came up, or is it's just like you don't know if you're going to get in. You see all the predictions of we're on the last four in, are we the last four out? Like, how's this all going to play out? And so, what do you tell your team? What do we tell them today? Like, you don't want them to be heartbroken. So it's just all those emotions just going into play as you're standing there watching.
That's Coach A. Well, at least the good news is obviously they're in. All right, now let me put you guys on the spot here. You ready? So far, UCF's closest loss out of their previous 5 trips to the NCAA tournament was in 2009 when they were 14 seed. They lost to North Carolina 85-80. That was Joy Williams's first NCAA appearance with UCF when they won Conference USA. We've said this is going to be a close game. Do you think it will be closer than that one? Eric, I'll go with you first.
No, I don't. I think it's going to be about a 7 to 9 point game either way. Whoever wins, it's 7 to 9 point game. There's usually, I've studied this actually, the women's game in the tournament, for whatever reason, don't play a lot of close games. They don't. And it's usually because one team turns it over too many times, or one team just can't buy a bucket, and it kind of gets away from them. And I think it'll be similar here. I think something's going to give here. Either UCF's going to turn Northwestern over more than Northwestern's turned it over earlier, and they run away with it, or UCF struggles offensively, which they had, kind of like the USF championship game where they just struggled in that second quarter, dug themselves a big hole. They made a run, but it was too late. So I think it's going to be one of those type of games where it's like a 59-49, 58-50 type of game either way. I don't have an explanation why that is in the women's game, but very few games come down literally to the last shot.
What do you think, Murph?
I'll go yes. I'll go less than 5, mostly because Vegas says yes, less than 5. Vegas says 3.5.
Whoa!
All right.
For number, you got a number on this?
For Northwestern off of Bovada, you can go Northwestern minus 3.5. The over/under. Would you like to guess it?
Over/under.
105.
I'll go with 109.
Jeffrey, 108.5. 0.5.
Hey!
It just goes to show that this is going to be a rock fight. This is going to be a rock fight of a high degree. Your low 50s type of game, which is great for UCF. That's the kind of game they want.
Yep.
And I do think it'll be close. The only way I see this being like a 7 to 9 point game that Eric kind of prescribes is if a late close game turns into a free throw shooting contest, and Northwestern hits like a bunch of free throws in the final minute to stretch the margin out. But I do think that with like a minute, 90 seconds to go, whatever. This will be like I would imagine this is probably a one possession game.
Okay.
They're going to need production out of Brittany Smith and Lish Lewis.
Yeah.
They both struggled in the conference tournament, especially in the championship game. Kaba is going to be ready. Diamond Battles is going to be ready. But this is not a team that could have one player carry them like a KK could. They need Brittany Smith, Lish Lewis, Kaba, and Diamond. That's where those are your four scorers. They can't have off nights, or you're going to struggle against a team like Northwestern. And we'll obviously have more on this later in the week, but I think that's a key factor. I agree with Murph. If you're UCF, you want this game in the 50s. If it's into the 60s, 70s, I think it's in Northwestern's favor.
Yeah. I want to talk about the draw real quick, because on the other side, should UCF get through Northwestern, they would likely face 2-seed Louisville, who's playing 15-seed Marist. Louisville's really good. They are 23-3. They were 14-2 in the ACC. Only 2 of their 3 losses came to North Carolina State. By the way, just letting everybody know about that, since NC State is one of the 1 seeds in this tournament. But any possible shot that UCF could have against them?
No.
Murph?
No. I mean, again, like if they go like Villanova against Georgetown, like anything's possible.
Take the air out of the ball,
Yeah. Can we ban the shot clock? Can we go 4 quarters off?
In that case, yeah, we can.
Let's take away the 3-point line too while we're at it, like in '85, because they're shooting 35%.
Let's take a commanding 4-0 lead and then just pass the ball around square.
I'm going to make the case. Here. You ready? What's the thing we said? What's the COVID? What's the thing that we said about going into the conference tournament? Defense travels well. So if NC State for some reason just has a bad night, can't hit the broadside, or Louisville. Yeah, I'm sorry. If Louisville for some reason can't hit the broadside of a barn, UCF's defense takes over. They force some turnovers. They kind of, get a couple of runs. Somebody starts, Lish Lewis starts making some shots. You never know. You just never know.
It's like that you're kind of making the point that we're trying to make of like, listen, if everything breaks perfectly, UCF has a chance.
Including COVID.
God.
Let's not wish that on an opposing team, please.
I just saw like Georgia Tech is going to be without their best big man because he's out. I mean, you don't think that's going to make a difference in the?
Well, of course it would make a difference, but let's not be like,
no seriousness though. This is a factor in the men's and the women's tournament.
Yeah,
we can say, I mean, that's a big factor. Who gets popped? Who doesn't? I mean, we can't pretend that it's everything going to go smoothly. That is unfortunately a factor. It's not. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. It is a factor. Like if certain teams miss players, that's significant and could alter this tournament.
It's a factor for both teams.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Both sides. You're right. I mean, unfortunately that is a factor. As we go through each day, you keep checking to make sure. All right, did they check out? I mean, Oklahoma. In the men's side, they're going to be without their second leading scorer for their opening round game against Missouri. So it's going to play a factor throughout this tournament. I don't believe – maybe I'm wrong, and hopefully I am wrong, and this tournament goes smoothly and we don't have a team opt out, but it wouldn't shock me if at some point we see a team that's a little shorthanded, maybe playing with only 5-6 players.
Gosh.
Yeah, by the way, it'd be amazing to see UCF match up against the Louisville team that's averaging 79 points a game and shooting 47% from the field.
They're really good, and they're big, and they're tall. I mean, they're a national title contender. That's a tall – look, and listen, this season is a – if they win against Northwestern, it's all free money at that point.
Yeah, you're playing with house money. It's because it would be the first time in school history that UCF women's basketball has won an NCAA tournament game. I thought that they had a shot last time around against Arizona State, but Arizona State pulled away in that game. They came so close against North Carolina 12 years ago. I remember watching that game. That was a bummer. But this is a very good defensive team, and when you play good defense, anything can happen. So,
but you're going to have to score again. The problem is Louisville can defend too.
Yeah. And
that's in women's basketball. When you play the elite teams, they could defend. So you got to figure out a way to score. Louisville can defend as well, right. And they got everything. So
let's focus on Northwestern.
Yeah, let's worry about that one first, and then we'll worry about Louisville if we have to.
We're going to preview that game in depth. Also, by the way, later in this week, we're going to have a standalone NCAA women's basketball preview show. Philip Rossman Reich is going to join us. Our friend who covers the Orlando Magic, who also covers Northwestern.
It's a grad.
Will be, and is a graduate of the distinguished Medill School of Journalism, will be joining us to talk about UCF's matchup with the Northwestern Wildcats and what to expect.
For you football fans out there, we'll also maybe bring up Isaiah Bowser for the newest night.
We can talk about Isaiah. Yeah. All right. Let's switch over to the men's team, which saw their season come to an end in the American tournament, losing to Memphis in the quarterfinals. This was about where we expected UCF to go, but the way it happened was just was really heartbreaking, I thought, too, Murph, because we were watching the game. We're all watching the game together, and not together physically, but on Twitter. But Memphis comes out to that huge lead, and Lopez is like, "Here we go," and all of a sudden, back comes UCF. They got to within 4 at the half, which was, and what was I think UCF actually, no, they didn't take the lead. Is that right, in the second half? They did have the lead in the second half at a couple points, but
they led with about 5:20 remaining.
Right. It seems like it was a month ago. 5:20 to go, and they were up 54-53. And after a layup by Isaiah Adams, and then it just felt like the wheels started to come off possession by possession. I think we saw the rest of the way, like there was a stretch of like it felt like, I think it was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possessions in a row after that neither team got a basket on their possessions. And then Memphis finally got some free throws. UCF started panicking a little bit, and then Memphis just kind of pulled away from there. But, the fight in this team was really something. They finished winning 7 of their last 10 and having a really good shot at this game. Did you come away from this game disappointed at the end result, or sort of thinking, wow, okay, this is kind of they're definitely headed in the right direction heading into 2021-2022.
So I wasn't disappointed. I mean, don't forget. So on this podcast last week, I said I would be surprised if they lost by fewer than 10 points. And they did that. And they not only did they did that, but they were leading going in, close to the final segment of the game with 5.5 to go. So I think they certainly exceeded my expectations. I didn't make any sort of like grand judgments about the future of the program based off this one game either, because it was just one game, and I do think that for what it was, like it's just a bad matchup. Like they just don't match up very well with Memphis and their athleticism and their pressure.
And yet they were in the final in the second half.
Right, and then they go cold at the very end. They didn't. UCF makes one basket in the final 5:29, and that one basket was a meaningless last second basket that had no impact on the game. But I was just pleased to see them really show the strides they made in the 3 games against Memphis, where the first one was really just an abomination that you just wanted to forget right away. The second one wasn't good either, but you could see that it was certainly better. And then this one where it looked like it was going to be a carbon copy of the first 2. They were, UCF had committed 10 turnovers in the first 11 minutes. They were 3 for 18 from the field, and they were down by 15. And then all of a sudden, they started stringing together some possessions. They were finding ways to sort of get through the press. Also Memphis sort of backed off a little bit because they were getting tired. And Penny Hardaway had said at the half that the reason why UCF was able to come back is because they fatigued themselves by pressing for too long. Mm-hmm. And so they sort of had to pull back off of it. But that helped UCF. They got back into it. They made some shots. Really good hustle plays, I thought by a lot of players. Dre Fuller makes that really amazing offensive rebound save, diving, while sliding out of bounds, hopping over a player.
Great play.
Throwing it back to I believe Brandon Mahan for a three, and then Darius Perry hits a three from about 25 feet out. That gave me a bunch of was it TJ Sorrentine from Syracuse against Vermont? Mm-hmm. It gave me it gave me a lot of those sort of like Vermont versus Syracuse.
He did it to Syracuse, not for Syracuse.
Right, I was gonna say and Jeff, you should know.
Yeah, I should know.
That Perry three from the top of the arc gave me the Sorrentine vibes, which is why I wrote on Twitter. I said Perry from the parking lot because I just felt like that's what that shot looked like, and that put UCF up by one, and then they would get lose it and get it back. I didn't really make any grand exclamations about this team and this future going out of this game. I was just really happy with the way they played in the second half, mostly late in the first half. I was happy with the way they fought. I really was pleased with the result, considering how badly it started and how they really could have tanked it. It's sort of this season in a nutshell where this team could have folded very easily after their COVID pause in the middle of the year, coming out and playing so poorly afterwards, understandably, and they didn't. They go out and they, like you said, they win their 7 of their last 10, 7 of their last 9 before this one, and it's sort of like this game where they get down early. They could have packed it in, playing 2 games, a second game or a game on a second consecutive night, and they didn't. They really fought hard. They played well, and I'm sure they're disappointed because they thought they could, certainly had a chance to win. I was just more pleased than anything that they sort of just persevered through it.
The leading scorers from the game, Darius Perry had 15 points. He only shot 4 of 13, but he hit some real critical threes. He also added 5 assists.
They all came in a 2-minute stretch.
Right. Isaiah Adams, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 6 of 12 shooting, had 4 steals in the game as well to go with 4 assists. Brandon Mahan off the bench in 33 minutes, 11 points, 2 of 6 shooting, but 6 rebounds. And then what else do we have? CJ Walker had 9 points as well. And boy, we saw some really good flashes of him. 3 rebounds to go as well. So what are the big questions now as we head to the offseason? They finished 11-12, 8-10 in the American. I still feel like that record is deceptive considering what they went through. It's too bad that they finished below 500. I mean, because the way they finished the season, I thought was really something. I made the quote on Twitter that I wasn't sure what was Johnny Dawkins' best coaching job. Was it 2018 when?
Yeah, that was his first year. It was by far his best job.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was his second year actually because they won 20 games his first year. But 2017, 2018, where that team that won 19 games where Taka was out, BJ was out. Aubrey missed the whole season.
That was a good year too. His first 2 years were tremendous. Let's not dismiss the first year where he took over a team that won 10 games the year before and got him to an NIT Final Four. I still can't believe he pulled that off. But
when you're talking about a team that was missing your top 3 guys and you come within an eyelash of winning 20 games anyway, that's pretty remarkable. Or was it this one where you could see the talent at the start of the year, the COVID pause happened. You had injuries all over the place. Tony Johnson Jr. injures himself in this layup line in the first game. You're basically playing 7 or 8 guys, depending upon the night. And they finished the way they did. Like you said, they could have folded up the tent and gone home. But they didn't. So now what are the questions heading into the biggest questions that you think need to be answered this offseason?
Well, we have to figure out who's coming back, right? Everyone gets a free year, and so does Darius Perry come back? Now, I actually after the game against ECU the night before, I said, Darius, you were there on senior night, so we're assuming that this is these are your last college games. and he kind of, stopped me and said that he had made that decision. He doesn't know if he's coming back or not. So we'll see. No one, all lips are sealed right now, but obviously we have to figure out what the status is for Darius Perry, Brandon Mahan, those kind of seniors. I'm going to assume that Darius Perry moves on. So my biggest question is, well, then who's your point guard? Because if he moves on, you have, I believe, probably two guys. I know Dre Fuller has played enough at the point through this year that you could probably put him there. But again, I don't want him there.
It seems less than ideal.
It is. You know what it is, Jeff? Jeff, you know what it is?
It's not what you want.
Not what you want. So, Tony Johnson's obviously in-house. But then you have Darius Johnson, the 4-star recruit. 4 stars. Guys, hold your breath. He's coming in this year as a freshman, or coming in next year as a freshman. A near top 100 prospect. He's a point guard. Do they trust him right away to lead this offense for a substantial period of time? How quickly can he get up to speed? Obviously, that depends probably on what the summer looks like. What the summer looks like. Do they have a regular, conditioning, and like freshman orientation period that we didn't have last year? But that's the main question for me, because I think everyone else is probably coming back. Now. We could have a mass exodus, as you're witnessing right now at USF or Cincinnati, but barring that, you've got Isaiah Adams, who, it's just he's just a stud. He's an absolute stud.
God, he's good.
He struggled at the early portions of that game against Memphis, where it looked like he was tight. The moment was kind of getting to him. He made some his shot was off. He made a couple of turnovers. And then, he got pulled out midway through the first half, came back in after a few minutes, and just looked like a different player. Shook it off, and at times looked like the best player on the floor. So you've got him sort of headlining it all. But Darren Green Jr. and Dre Fuller Jr. and Jameel Reynolds and C.J. Walker, that's a pretty decent core of guys, none of whom would actually be in their senior year. They'd all be in the, I think Dre will be here now for 4 years, but he would still only be a junior. And so that they're all coming back. And then if you can get a point guard out of either Tony Johnson or Darius Johnson, it's a pretty nice team. We'll talk about the bench later and see how that develops with guys like Sean Mobley or maybe, but you know what? It's pretty good. It's a good base.
I think that core, that really young core right now with Isaiah Adams, Jameel Reynolds, and C.J. Walker, at least are the guys we see right now. Any other guy, newcomers notwithstanding, that is just such a solid core to build around. And I'm so excited to see what C.J. Walker does. How is he going to develop, especially in terms of his offensive game, because we know how good he is defensively and rebounding. I think once he gets he gets that he harnesses that offensive talent, is just going to be unstoppable. And I think you hit it right on the head with Isaiah. And I'm really excited about Jameel. I think he's sort of the unsung guy here because he played a lot of minutes late in the season. I think he played himself into some really into shape and sort of into the additional minutes. In that respect, just as Avery Diggs did, by the way. But Jameel, you saw as the season went on, he got stronger. We saw some real flashes of brilliance from him, especially where I love it when he just decides to play bully ball. He knows the matchups that he can win, and that's high basketball IQ, and he took advantage of that. So does he add to his repertoire? How does he hit the weight room over the summer? That's going to be. I'm really excited to see what he's going to turn into.
That's going to be a big thing. Going into next year is how it seems like just looking at him, boy, if he had a full introduction to the freshman year and having a full off season to get used to it and get in the weight room and get into the training program and really use that summer to get ramped up for the season, he might have come on sooner than he did. And I'm interested to see how he uses this offseason and gets in the weight room. I think he could change his body to become a better player. You can see it. That bulk certainly helps him but he can do without some of that and still not lose anything and maybe gain some quickness and gain some skill. So
yeah,
I think that is something. You're right, Jeff. That's something to watch. So I really hope he does get in the weight room hard this summer and maybe change his body.
All right. So that's where we stand with the men's basketball team right now. We'll be monitoring, obviously, any offseason moves that they make. Any guys who decide to leave or come back, will be all over that right here on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Keep an eye on that as UCF gets ready for the 2021-2022 season. All right. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk softball and baseball. Hit the diamond. Both teams taking on UNF over this past week. Softball rolling. Baseball back on track. What do we have coming up with both those teams? Stick around. We'll be right back.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff, Eric, and Brian with you on recording this on late on a Wednesday night, where the UCF softball team actually, Eric, what happened today? They split with UNF. They lost 7-9. I think it was in extra innings before kneecapping the Ospreys 9-1. But that loss earlier today snapped a 5-game win streak, including a sweep against FAU down in Boca. I'm talking obviously tongue in cheek here. This team is really hot. They're 18-4 right now. 11-2 at home, 7-2 away. They're winning everywhere. They're winning every which way you can possibly think of. They're hitting, they're fielding, they're pitching really well, obviously, and they're heading into a big road series at South Carolina, number 19 South Carolina. 4 straight games this coming week against ranked opponents, because they play Wednesday the 24th also at home against number 7 Florida. This is all before they start conference play. But the formula is still working, and they, after the win against Arizona, they took care of FIU 7-1. They didn't allow a single run in that 3-game FAU series, and they're popping right now. What is working, and what was the highlight from this past week?
Well, you said it, pitching. I mean, they didn't give up a run against FAU for 3 games. That was impressive. Gianna Mancho was tremendous.
Has that ever happened in a 3-game series for UCF, by the way, that they didn't give up a run?
Yeah, that's happened before.
Okay.
We have a good history.
Not often.
No, it's not an often thing. Not especially in today's game, where there's more offense in the sport than there was, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But Gianna Mancho was the National Pitcher of the Week, which only Shelby Turnier has done, by the way.
Yeah.
And so she's been on fire, and Leah pitched a really good game as well. She broke the school record for most innings pitched. So they took care of FIU. The UNF split's kind of a fluky thing. That first game was all fluky. The umpiring was, well, you could tell that the umpiring, the lights in the end of the tunnel, boys, that we're getting back to close to normal, because the umpiring in softball stinks once again. So I'm optimistic.
All right. Check that one off the list, Murph. We've gotten a committee on blast. We've got umpires on blast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got those umpires from like the parking lot, like when they showed up. Hey, do you want to umpire? Oh, you have no experience? That's okay. We can it's fine.
We're going to get canceled.
Clowns. Anyway, so then UCF took care of business the second game. But look, you mentioned it. This is a big stretch now. You got South Carolina's a top 25 team at South Carolina this weekend. Saturday doubleheader, single game Sunday. Then next Wednesday, you're hosting Florida, who's a top 5 team. That's going to be huge. And then you start conference play with Houston. So this is a huge step here from a building a resume standpoint. If you want to enter the conversation to host and things like that, these next 4 games in particular are very significant. The one concern that I would have right now with UCF is, what you're getting from Aaliyah and Gianna, but what are you getting behind them? Because can you depend on those two to carry you in a year where conference series are going to be 4 games? And right now, Brianna is struggling, and then they got a lot of youth behind that. That's really what cost them the first game. They went to Aaliyah. She didn't have it. Brianna struggled. And so that's, to me, a looming question. And we're going to see what happens this weekend against South Carolina, because they're going to see teams like South Carolina and Florida who can hit, and they have pitching. So I'm curious to see what happens with there. But, look, a lot of positives. 18-4. You're in good shape, top 25. Your RPI, it's not out yet because it's too early. But from what I've been told from people that run the RPI, they're probably going to be in the 15 to 20 range, depending on what. And then we'll see what happens this weekend. So all good positives. And I think it was good to see them bounce back and just to annihilate UNF after the first game. So that's a good thing. And a big opportunity against South Carolina for 3. South Carolina is very good. They're going to be ready to go. They just got swept by Arkansas. But these are top 50 games, top 25 games that you look back at the resume and say, this is why you either make the tournament. Not only that, but you also, maybe you host, or maybe you're busing to Tallahassee.
So these 4 games, the 3 at South Carolina, including 2 in a doubleheader, Saturday, and the single game Sunday, and then the Wednesday against Florida at home. What does UCF have to do, in your opinion, so that you would term this a good week?
I mean, 2-2 is a good week. 3-1 is 2-2 is fine. 3-1 is good because you're getting quality.
4-0 is bonkers.
Shoot, yeah, that's what I would say. Put it this way: they go 4-0. Murph, we'll be cussing up a storm on the podcast next week if we go 4-0. All right, and so.
Like, 4-0, we record Wednesday night after Florida. Like, I don't know if we're even going to be able to have you on. We'll have to pull you down from orbit.
Right. That's a good point. But no, look, I mean, it's a great opportunity to build on the Arizona win. You're trying to build a resume. And remember, this program hasn't been to the tournament since 2016. Now, they were on their way to being there last year, and then obviously the season got cut short.
They would have been there last year.
Yeah, but, this is an opportunity. This is why they come here. They're going to play South Carolina, and I think that, and I don't think they'll admit it, but I think some of them maybe got caught looking ahead, and I think that's why they got off to that slow start against UNF. So, big opportunity. The Florida game obviously is always special. They're going to be playing a home and home this year with Florida. No gimmies from this point on. So, we'll see what they're made of and the challenge, but I think they're looking forward to it, and hopefully we get a third pitcher to step in. Brianna can get back on track. Something like would really be huge. That's the one thing. Last year they had all 3 of them like clicking. Right now it's 2 out of 3. So, and again, in a 4-game series that in conference, because we're going to start conference next week, that worries me a little bit. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. Big opportunity, South Carolina. The good news is it'll be on SEC Network Plus. We don't have to deal with the $5 budget that apparently UNF has for their broadcast or whatever that nonsense was. Good Lord. Anybody wants to complain about ESPN
video
Plus.
crew is on blast now, courtesy
what
of
was that? I was nauseous. I felt like I was in a roller coaster. Like 1 minute I'm watching it from upper deck, then I'm in the ground, then I'm in the out. Anyway, I can't find the ball. Like, guys, let's make this simple. All right, simplify this, please.
SEC. Oh, go ahead, Murph. I'm sorry.
We have breaking news that the UNF video feed was run by Eric, the women's softball selection committee.
That would explain it. That would explain it. That would make more. That makes a ton of sense. Gosh. There you
go. SEC Network Plus, by the way, you get that with ESPN Plus, right? Yeah,
I do at least. By the way, a cute little thing here, little useless data here that right here. So when Aaliyah White, all right, will pitch against South Carolina, one of the hitters that she will face is also named Aaliyah White. They spell it differently, but you will have 2 Aaliyah Whites on the same field. Okay. How about that?
Okay.
I have jokes, but they're bad jokes.
No. Nope, we're going to avoid that. All right, so South Carolina.
By the way, 698 wins for this program. So if they get 2 wins this weekend, they reach the milestone of 700. So that could be hopefully coming soon.
What if they go 2-2, like, pretty good possibility they could get win number 700 in history against Florida.
They could as well. I would prefer South Carolina, but yes,
of course.
Florida, obviously, I'll be calling that game with Francesca Anea on ESPN Plus. So that will be
That
pretty
would be Florida Gator
story.
legend Francesca Anea. Is that correct?
3-time All-American. Yeah, pretty
Boy.
good.
You're gonna have to. Oh boy, that's gonna be fun. UCF and Florida in the booth for UCF and Florida.
It'll be fun. And,
Oh man! All right.
So 700 on the cusp there. So
2 p.m., 5 p.m. Saturday on SEC Network Plus. That's UCF against number 19 South Carolina. The Saturday double dip. Sunday 1 p.m. against South Carolina, and then
top
Wednesday
25 showdown, baby.
Yep, and then another top 25 showdown Wednesday 6 p.m. against number 7 Florida. That game is at the UCF Softball Complex and will be televised on ESPN Plus. So be on the lookout for that. On the other diamond, baseball. Back sort of, kind of into a little bit of a flow there. They're at 7-9 right now. Spent the weekend winning, spent the weekend winning 3 out of 4 against UNF. The one they dropped was in Jacksonville in a 14-7 game, but wiped them out 10-0, 6-2 the first 2 games, and then 3-2 on Sunday in a very close game, which ended up being quite costly. Brian Murphy before they took on FAU and beat them on Tuesday. But let's go back to finish off that North Florida series because. It's great to win 3 out of 4, but it ended up being a little bit of a Pyrrhic victory, no?
Yes, and that they were sort of fortunate to pull out and get 3 out of 4, considering that this team had so many chances in the final game. Or excuse me, no, that was really it was the wait. I think I lost track of thought here. What series am I talking about? I was thinking about
UNF first.
Okay. I'm so lost.
Which by the way, they left a lot of men on base in the 4th game of that series too. By the way, which they did against FAU, but it was 2 straight games of just leaving everybody all over the bases.
Yeah. First of all, I'll tell you what happened to me just now. My mind totally fritzed when Jeff used the word Pyrrhic, and I'm just like, wait, is he actually doing that? Is he going to go next level vocab? So that really caught me off guard. But yes, it was. In that they end that series with a walk-off victory. It was actually UCF's first. It was at the end of UCF's first extra inning game since 2019. And Tom Jostin ropes a double down the right field line. Pablo Ruiz comes around from first. He slides in safely to score, and then everyone rushes out towards second base to mob Jostin. And in doing so, Matt Archer, who is UCF's normally starting third baseman, he could play third base or second base. And you can see this on the video that they've posted after the game on UCF Baseball's Twitter feed. But you can see Matthew Archer try to hop over Jostin as he's on the ground. And when Archer comes down, he lands awkwardly on his right leg and falls in a heap. And you can see him sort of looking down at his leg and kind of clutching it. And then, unfortunately, relief pitcher David Litchfield comes in, and, he doesn't know any better. He's trying to pull Archer out of the fray by his bad leg, which I can't imagine how much that hurt. But we find out on Tuesday that Archer, during the postgame celebration, tore his right ACL. Oh. He will miss the rest of the season. And it's a big loss for UCF for a couple of reasons. One, he's a versatile infielder, but really it's a UCF team that does not make enough contact right now. Going before this week with the UNF series, UCF's K rate was around 30%. It was just about first just about leading the American. It was second in the American by a percentage point, but they were striking out 30% of the time. And Matthew Archer is a guy who just doesn't strike out. He's a total gnat at the plate. He makes a ton of contact. Yeah. He's really pesky. So
he was hitting 281 at the time of the injury.
I just think he's really pesky in the regard that he just does not. He's got a really short stroke, and he just doesn't miss. And he doesn't hit for a lot of power, but he at least puts the ball in play. That's what this team needs more of, and you actually kind of saw that. On the Tuesday game against FAU, where UCF, for one point in that game, was 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position, and they had 7 Ks in those 11 at-bats. This team needs to make more contact, and losing Archer is detrimental to that cause.
Yeah, and that's such a hard pill to swallow at that point. But they still came back from that, and even though they struggled with men on against FAU, I think UCF left as a team 11 men on base in that game. Finally, someone broke through in the person of Ben McCabe in the 8th. Josh Crouch got that bases loaded walk. I think the Knights had the bases loaded in 2 previous frames prior to that. Couldn't punch anything across. But Crouch, who homered in the game back in the 3rd, a 2-run shot, then walked in the go-ahead RBI to make it in a tie ball game 3-3 to make it 4-3. And then Ben McCabe hits that grand slam in the 8th to kind of put it out of reach. And everyone collectively was like, oh, finally, we break through with runners on, because it was a rough week for UCF with base runners on. Do you think that could have been the thing that snaps them out of it here, and that we're going to start seeing guys kind of get through? And then what does that say about Ben McCabe? Because he's been such a great player for them this year and a real leader for them as well.
Well, his power has just come on. I mean, so quickly. It's unexpectedly, I would say, that he is. I did not expect Ben McCabe to have 6 home runs in mid-March. It's kind of nuts. I mean, he's top 10 in all of college baseball in RBIs.
Yeah, he's got 22 RBI in 16 games so far.
Would not have expected that. But what was funny about that FAU game and that McCabe grand slam is that game featured about, I would say, 7 balls that went to the track or to the wall, and they would just die. It would just die as soon as they got to the dirt. And so here's McCabe, and he absolutely unleashes into one, hits it on a line, and you can see Greg Lovelady in the third base coach's box. He's coaching third base, using his body, like bending back, trying to angle it over the wall.
Keep going, come on.
Yeah, kind of like a Carlton Fisk, not waving his arms, but sort of just like, get over there, baseball. And it did, and obviously everybody was excited because this team has had huge problems all year with runners in scoring position. I think, again, it comes down to making contact, putting the ball in play. I don't think this is something that, clutch hitting is kind of quirky and not really something that you can forecast going forward. Like, I think they've really struggled. Yes, they've really struggled. But just because they've really struggled with, getting hits in clutch times with men on base doesn't mean that this is now a trait of this team. This is something that can really change on a whim, where guys, can have really good streaks. Teams can have really good streaks of timely hitting, and then really bad streaks of timely hitting. And this team has had a bad streak of timely hitting for a couple of weeks now. But I don't expect that to all of a sudden be a year-long thing. That's usually not how these things sort of work. I do think the offense is good, but it's got, we talk about the Archer loss. They're also without Jeffrey Pena right now as well. This is their catalyst to top the lineup. Guy who has stolen 10 bases already, 10 of 11, was a breakout star in the shortened season last year, and he's the leadoff hitter and a fantastic defensive center fielder. He's out with a leg injury that he suffered during the UNF series over the weekend. So those are 2 big pieces that you're down. They did get Nick Romano back, the first baseman, who hadn't played since the Ole Miss series in late February due to a hamstring strain. He came back, but what's so weird is that for Nick Romano, who led this team in hitting last year, he's currently 1 for 21. Just very awkward. But once you get him going, you get Pena back, and you've already got guys like Alex Freeland and Ben McCabe, Jordan Rathbone, and then Josh Crouch, who I guess we can talk about a little bit more. This is a good lineup. This is a really nice lineup.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Crouch, and that's kind of my question. Like, who right now are the most valuable players to you in terms of hitting and then in terms of pitching? Crouch is having a great year. His OPS is up over 1,000. He's actually second on the team in that category, though, behind Jordan Rathbone, who's just having a monster year of his own. He's got 4 home runs and 12 RBIs. But, I think Crouch has been doing it not just offensively but defensively as well. But I want to know what you think. Who's the MVP of the hitting of the hitters, and then who's the MVP of the pitching staff right now?
I mean, maybe it's recency bias because I think Crouch has 6 hits in the last 2 games, but it seems like right now, and for the most part of the season, Josh Crouch has made the most hard contact. I I would love to know the advanced metrics on that. Unfortunately, we can't get those in college baseball, or at least I can't, because I'm not in the clubhouse. But it does seem. I mean, just from watching him, it does seem like Josh Crouch makes consistently the most hard contact most often on this team.
He tagged a few the other night that were I mean, right there, and died, like you were saying.
And UCF had some balls, I mean, not only the balls to the wall, but like early in that game, and Greg Lovely talked about this after the game against FAU, like there was an inning in which Alex Freeland and Jordan Rathbone in back-to-back at-bats hit the ball right on the button, right to the second baseman, right to the third baseman. Like, it's not, and so like it could have been, it just sometimes those things happen. But Crouch has been great. He's a guy I saw in fall of 2019. And just in fall ball, just really impressed with his power and strength. I thought in the fall ball then he was really, really good. I thought he was the strongest guy on the team. And then 2020 comes around, he doesn't have a really good feel for the strike zone. I think he was, getting used to just being in the program. And then this year he just looks comfortable. He's been outstanding behind the plate. I mean, he caught a full double header here a couple of weekends ago, and they've really needed that because without Romano for a few weeks, they put Ben McCabe at first base, so they've really only had one true catcher while using Big McCabe at first. And Crouch has been up to task. So not only his power and his hard hit ability, but his ability to manage the staff and to frame well has been a godsend for this team too. But he's been great. And then obviously pitching, I think Colton Gordon's probably your answer. He's just a horse right now. A guy who does not blow away the radar gun. He's going to mess around in the low 90s. But, it's so funny. He had a start on Friday night. I think it was against UNF on Friday night.
Yep.
And he was throwing like 93 with fastball. And then the changeup, he was throwing a changeup at around 73. And the Ospreys are way out in front of everything that he was throwing on those changeups. And we asked Greg Lovelady about that afterwards. And he said, yeah, it's a pitch that he hasn't really used much. He's starting to, kind of, mess with it and kind of get into his repertoire. And it was just amazing. He's saying that, like, oh, yeah, as a pitcher, he's kind of fooling around with this changeup. Like, I'm watching this changeup. Like, this changeup is, like, already, like, plus changeup.
Yeah. It's like an eephus pitch almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the deception and the difference that he creates off of that changeup has been fantastic. Obviously, he's got a good slider as well. So I think Colton Gordon's been a stabilizer in that rotation, especially because Hunter Patterson has really struggled here as a Saturday starter. And now A.J. Jones apparently isn't feeling well, didn't start on Sunday. Jackson Clare got the start there on Sunday instead, pitched well, but without, and I don't know about Jones's status for this weekend against Jacksonville. I've heard that he may not pitch this weekend either. So with Patterson struggling and Jones out, the Gordon starts are even that much more important. And he has been just a total horse, a guy who can throw you 115 pitches. He can give you 8-9 innings. He can throw you a complete game and strike out 10 as he's done in back-to-back starts as well. He's been outstanding.
Yeah, I don't know when was the last time we had a UCF pitcher strike out 10 guys in back-to-back starts, but Gordon's done it. What I think is even more remarkable is his strikeout to walk ratio. In his 4 starts this year, he's struck out 32 and walked 5. In fact, the UNF game, he walked 3. That's a season. That was more walks than he had in his prior 3 starts combined. So, yes. I mean, the control has just been amazing for him.
He's outstanding. And again, we talked about the bullpen not really having an identity. And even after this week, I'm still not sure it has one. There've been some good performances, but I'm still worried about this bullpen as well. So there's a lot of questions with this pitching staff. And so you need a guy like with Colton Gordon, a guy who comes in every Friday night and is able to give you, what he's going to give you. He's going to give you a quality start, innings at least, strike out a handful, and keep you in the game. And so he's really irreplaceable right now.
Well, in the bullpen, just real quick, to touch upon it, we saw a lot of Ben Vespi this week, and he's actually second on the team in appearances. He's made 8 appearances so far. Given up 4 runs, 3 earned, walked 3, struck out 15. Pretty good ratio for him. I think Litchfield has kind of settled down a little bit finally after that rough start. And then Billy McKay has made a lot of hay so far this year. I think that ERA is kind of a little deceptive at 6.43, but he's made 9 appearances, and I was looking at what he's done most recently. He's only given up 1 earned run in his last 7 appearances. Struck out 4 and walked 1. So it seems like he kind of settled down after he had that rough outing against FAU, which kind of skewed everything for him. But right now, are we thinking it's what McKay, Vespi, and Litchfield are your top 3 guys, and everyone just kind of slots in afterwards?
I still think Hunsaker is part of the top 3. I like Ben Vespi. He's been good. I've
been impressed with him too.
The problem right now with Ben Vespi is I think only 3 of those 8 appearances. I think he's made 8 appearances.
Yeah.
I would say only 3 have come in any sort of decent leverage situations. Most of his early season work came in games where it was a blowout one way or the other. He was not really pitching with pressure. Now that has changed. Certainly, the last couple of outings that he's had, he's been put in situations where the game is sort of on the line, and he's pitched well. So I'll give him credit for that, certainly. But I'm not willing to take those 3 outings and say that I'm certain that he is what he has shown in the past couple of weeks. But he's definitely pitched well. But I think still Litchfield, Hunsaker, McKay, are basically, I think, around the top 3. And then you could slot in guys like Vespi or Zach Bennett, who pitched well also on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And then we'll figure out with Jack Sinclair what they want to do with him. I mean, with Jones being out right now, they've put Sinclair on the Sunday spot. He was really outstanding against UNF on Sunday. Career high 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, or was it 1 run or no runs? I forgot, but he was really, really good considering a guy who has really, really struggled with his control and his command this year. He was really. It was great to see that, but I feel like Sinclair's more valuable innings will come when you've got Jones back, you've got Kenny Surwa as your 4th starter, and then you can sort of get 2 dominant innings out of Sinclair out of the bullpen, which is where I think his best innings are going to lie once we get in the conference season. Again, I don't know that this bullpen still doesn't have, I think, a dominant reliever of any sort. I still think that guy is Jack Sinclair. Right now, he's been great in the rotation, but when everyone's healthy and they can get Gordon, Pattison figured out, and then Jones and Surwa, you can move Sinclair to the bullpen and make him a 2-inning closer, where I think that he could be really, really effective and raise that entire bullpen.
Yeah. I think you're right about Sinclair actually being better used out of the bullpen. I think we saw. I mean, that even goes back to, remember that. He had a couple key saves. I remember that one, or was it at Auburn last year? That was a really key moment for him. And but it was good to see him kind of get off that schneid there, because he had been really scuffling, and you could tell that he was at points. And the other thing that they were doing against him, that UNF was doing, was, man, they were making him throw a lot of pitches, and he still managed to fight his way through that. So, all right, they 3-game set against Jacksonville coming up. Friday at Jacksonville, 7 p.m. Saturday at Jacksonville, 2 p.m. And then back home on Sunday before they take on Florida State and Tallahassee on Wednesday. Just quick scouting reports on those 2 teams. What are we looking for from in that series against JU, and then the game against Florida State?
Oh, against JU, a team that got to a really, really rough start, but was able to sneak a victory over Florida not too long ago. The offense has struggled mightily. I think they've been outscored by 30 runs this year. The pitching is okay, but they've lost one of their best guys, I believe, due to an injury. It's been a rough year for the Dolphins. And then FSU, I don't know. They've been. I'm serious in the fact that they should be. They started out not that great, and people were wondering wait, is this team are they even going to make the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, they're 7-6 right now, by the way.
Yeah, and so I haven't checked on them since the first couple weeks of the season, but they were really struggling early. So this is not your typical from the olden days of Mike Martin. FSU
but
baseball.
They just smoked Florida though this midweek.
Yeah, 10-2
the other night. So yeah, I mean,
UCF will be facing 2 teams that beat Florida within the next days.
Yeah, Florida State's got Miami this weekend coming up down at Mark Light too, so we're going to get a real good gauge of what they're looking at right now. I mean, they really got Florida State's issues. They got pounded by Pitt earlier in the year. They got swept in 3 straight, and that's kind of
I mean, their former pitching coach is the head coach there at Pitt, so probably had some knowledge of the Seminoles. But I feel like we had this conversation 2 years ago. Remember, Florida State was a bubble team.
Yeah.
2 years ago, barely made the tournament, and then made that run to Omaha. And I think this is, again, we talked about this last week. It's going to be a roller coaster of a season. Didn't East Carolina just lose to UNC Wilmington? I just saw that, I think. So you're just going to have some weird results throughout the season. And I think it's going to be an interesting jam. The concern, Murph, is is this team digging themselves a hole kind of like the 18 and the 19 team where they had to make this big run at the end just to get in the mix for the tournament? I guess that would be the concern from people. But I think we're still a week or two away from that. Yeah,
it's too early to tell. You're not even in the conference season yet. I have no idea what any sort of tournament bubble would look like at this point. It's just way too early. There have been some losses you don't want, but I don't know. It depends on what the bubble looks like. And so why are we even talking about a bubble in mid-March college baseball? I don't know what it looks like. Let's get to the conference weekend in April. And then we can sort of assess, what they do after the first few conference, after the first couple conference series. I think then we'll really know whether or not this team is for real.
By the way, ECU did lose to UNC Wilmington. It was at Wilmington, but Wilmington's actually receiving votes in a couple of the polls, so they're not a bad team, really. I mean, they shouldn't be as good as ECU because the Pirates are number 9, but I don't think that loss is as surprising as people think.
And that snapped a 6-game winning streak for ECU, who's 16-3. They're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're number 4 in the Warren Nolan RPI, East Carolina.
I can't wait for. I mean, just watching Tulane and Houston. Obviously, ECU we know about, but man, these are gonna be some fun series later on with the type of offense that Houston brings. Tulane's pitching staff. It's gonna be really, really fun once we get into April.
Yeah, it's gonna start getting wild here. But
by the way, that Liberty's 11-5 quietly. Their RPI's in the 40s. We might look back in that and say, that wasn't such a terrible series. I mean, obviously it's never going to get swept, but it's not like a train wreck that I think it felt like at that moment.
No, and again, I think FAU is a good team too.
They're in the 40s as well. I know it's early, but RPI wise, they're in the early 40s RPIs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
FAU beat Florida. They swept Seton Hall. They lost to Miami, but I think beating them is a good win. And so now you've basically split your 4 games against FAU.
Well, that's a good point. That's a huge point to make there. That FAU is a split now. You pretty much, which is kind of that's fine. You're fine. Splitting them. So,
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got lots more to talk about. What did UCF Volleyball do against Cincinnati, and that sort of matchup of the 2 contenders in the East Division of the American in volleyball's quirky schedule? And what do we have from soccer and tennis as well? Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Jeff, Eric, and Brian with you here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, UCF_Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, and of course, blackandgoldbanneret.com, where we'll be catching up on everything going on in this wild, wild spring. I want to start with UCF Volleyball, boys, because, man, did they take it to Cincinnati this week. Now, remember, Cincinnati and UCF were UCF was basically the unanimous preseason pick to win the conference, but 1 vote went to Cincinnati. Of course, that was Todd Dagenet's vote because you can't vote for yourself. But the East Division is basically between UCF and Cincinnati, and boy, did UCF just take it to them. Swept them twice. Cincinnati was really competitive in only 1 set in the second day, and it was just workman-like precision by UCF Volleyball both days. McKenna Melville had double-figure kills in both matches, 13 kills in each. I got to give a special shout-out to Narissa Moravec and Catherine Westlich, who've just been fantastic this season. This is the best front line I think that UCF has ever had in the Dagenet era. And Narissa had 11 blocks. 11 blocks on the 13th, which was the Saturday match against Cincinnati. She's just playing out of her mind right now. One of the nation's leaders in blocks and one of the conference leaders in hit percentage. So UCF right now 12-1, 6-0 in the American, and number 12 in the RPI, by the way, where they are just barely behind number 1 Fairfield out of the MAAC. So go figure that. But wow, is UCF volleyball just hitting a stride right now? In conference play, or against American Athletic Conference opponents, I should say, they have lost. They've lost only 3 sets, and in actual or against conference opponents in conference play, because remember they played Tulane in that preseason series, which doesn't actually count as a conference match. Against Temple, ECU, and Cincinnati combined, 6 matches, they've lost only 1 set. Only 1 set the whole season. They have the weekend off. They're back home against South Florida Friday and Saturday before they go back to Cincinnati on April 2nd for the American Athletic Conference Tournament semifinals. By the way, UCF against Cincinnati locked up the number 1 seed in the East. So they will play the West 2 seed, which right now is Tulane. But that could change because it's pretty tight in the West behind Houston, who's number 1.
The 2 spot in the West is really what they're going to play for. I mean, I think Cincinnati, South Florida could still battle for the 2. I think if you're the American, you're very happy right now because it's kind of clear cut. The 2 best teams are UCF and Houston, and I think both can get into the tournament. Houston, by the way, is hosting number 6 ranked Baylor on Thursday night. That's a big match for them.
Yeah, that's a show me match right there, man.
Well, their head coach here, he's going to win Coach of the Year again. That guy, he has turned around that program. They were a bottom program. He just got there like in 2019. And, they beat Texas Tech this year. They've beaten Rice. They're going to win the Western Division. If I'm the American, I'm rooting for Houston and UCF to just dominate everybody and play each other in the championship. Right.
That's all you need.
Because what you don't want is what's going to happen in soccer, which we'll get into, and that's a mess. Because in a year where the tournament is shrunk, that's not going to help you. I think the American has a legitimate chance to get 2 teams in a 48-team field with Houston probably going to Texas. Texas will probably be – this is assuming they stick to their format of host and they don't do a bubble.
Actually, no, they are going to do a bubble. You know who's going to be hosting it?
Oh.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah.
You couldn't find a better place than boring Lincoln. Like, what idiot would go to Lincoln, Nebraska? I mean, really?
Apparently the
who would
entire
want to move?
NCAA tournament.
Good Lord. I mean, that is just, oh, my God. Lincoln, Nebraska bubble. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, Omaha officially is going to host the entire NCAA volleyball tournament. But there's going to be kind of around, Omaha and Lincoln, but a little bit. But it's going to be in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska.
So does that, you think Scott Frost shows up to support Todd there? No?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. All right.
I don't know if they were tight when Scott was here.
They really picked Lincoln, Nebraska as the bubble?
Not like I correct myself. It's Omaha. It's Omaha, Nebraska.
All right, Omaha makes more sense.
Yeah.
Big year for Omaha, World Series and the volleyball.
And volleyball. Yeah.
All right, well that's good. I did not know that. So that
Omaha
is
better. Omaha greater than Lincoln, apparently, according to Eric Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, you get to go to college baseball games there. I mean, hello.
Anyway, but I think that they're in good shape. I still don't know in a 48-team field if they're going to let a second American team in. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm saying they should. But I just don't know if they will with 48 teams.
Well, I think now that you told me that, with the Omaha factor, that does take away geography to some extent. Although I would argue Houston actually is more favorable from a geography standpoint.
Yeah. If it helps anybody, it helps Houston. But,
So that means we don't have to play in the O'Connell Center anymore. We could just play Florida and Omaha for a change. All right. Let's go.
Yeah. So
Murph, you making the trip?
Oh, yes.
Well, you guys. Oh, my gosh.
I heard there's some good steaks there.
Yes, well, the state game is top notch. It's top notch. Let's see what. I want to talk about soccer real quick because we got some developing stories out here. Men's soccer, all right. Eric, we talked about it. They were 2-3 in the first half of the season. We're like, they got to hit a good stride. And you were like, I don't know about that game at SMU. But if they can somehow squeeze 4 out of 5, they're going to be in pretty good shape. What do? They go to number 9 SMU and knock them off 2-0. Now SMU is having a little bit of struggle right now. They've lost 2 in a row. They're playing a freshman goalkeeper, but they're still number 9 in the country. Hattie Barry from Gino Vivi to get the scoring going for UCF. And then Yoni Sorokin scored on a penalty kick to give UCF the win. But UCF looked as strong as they have looked all season in this game. Dominated possession. Shots were pretty close, 15-12, but UCF did outshoot SMU in the second half, 12-6. And the goalkeeping was great once again because remember Yannick Edel came back and from the absence that he was for that period of time, and he was spectacular in goal for UCF. So the Knights are now back at 3-3, and if you look at the American standings, it is like you said, a cluster. It really is a mess in men's soccer because here's UCF in the just behind USF for the lead for second, but they're actually tied for third with SMU because they do the points system, right? Tulsa actually leads everyone in points at 13 points overall, but all of a sudden, just like that, you're in striking distance. But in this 6-team league, though, it's a mess, isn't it?
It is a big mess, and the rippling effect is, could that cost them as far as how many teams they get to the tournament? Remember, they shrunk the tournament. I'm actually trying to find out to make sure they're not doing a bubble. I didn't know about the volleyball. That's big news. I think you just broke news. Did you just do a Woj bomb there with that volleyball bubble?
Oh, no. That was broken back in February.
I don't care. No, we're calling it a Jeff bomb right here on the Banneret right there. We're gonna, because I didn't know about it. So we're gonna go.
I will say though that Nebraska is the host institution for volleyball. But anyway.
So the men's field is 36, which means only 12 at larges. And the concern I have is, and it's the same in the women, it's 48 with 17 at larges. If a conference is beating each other up like the American is doing, I don't know if they can get, how many teams can get to the field. Now, the advantages I think UCF and SMU might have is they have kind of some street cred from the success they've the last couple of years. So I think they'll get benefit of the doubt if they could put themselves in that position as opposed to maybe other teams in the league. But look, that's a huge defining win. Yannick Girdle being back was tremendous. I think their offense looked good. They're starting to have some chemistry there. Now they just got to, carry that over to this Saturday. They got it. This can't be a one-off. You got to build a run here. And if they can do that, then, you got to like your chances. Because, the tournament right now in that league, that championship is wide open. And you can make an argument for 3 to 4 teams whoever gets into the conference tournament, all 4 teams have a shot to win it.
Yeah. It's amazing how all it takes is just one win, and then all of a sudden you're right in the thick of it. Which is, it was an impressive job. It was an impressive job by Coach Calabrese and his team, and I think that we spent all our time talking about who's going to replace Cal and Cal Jennings, who's now at the LA Galaxy, and it looks to me right now, Eric, just real quick, that they've kind of found this sort of two-headed monster with Hattie Barry and Gino Vivi, where if one's not working, the other's going to get the opportunities. Because Gino had some opportunities against SMU, and really, I thought really did a wonderful job defensively. But Hattie was the guy who was who was really causing havoc in the front end for us against SMU.
Yeah, right. He was the player of the week. Could have scored 2 goals, honestly.
Yeah.
Gino's very good job passing, and they're more spread. They got some younger guys too that are stepping up. So, it's coming together. It's slow, but again, it's a sprint. It's kind of frustrating. In a normal season, we'd be like, hey, they're starting to figure things out. But here you're kind of in a sprint. But all of a sudden, they get them back in it. They're going to host Temple this Saturday. Then the big one, 2 weeks at Tampa against South Florida, and then hosting SMU. That's going to be right there.
Yeah.
March 27th, April 2nd. That's where your destiny is.
That's a big weekend for everybody. There's the volleyball tournament going on. It's going to be
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be huge. And like I said, they're back in it. That's what the SMU win does, is to get back in it and, get some revenge there against your rivals and get some confidence that you could beat them. And, they've had their, Calabrese has said it. They've had their number, if you will. And to get that win also could pay off down the road when SMU has to come here in Orlando. And who knows, they could play again in the conference tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to keep an eye on that. The women this week, incidentally, they played to a draw against CU at home on Sunday. A little bit of a disappointment in terms of that, because it was Maddie Nags of ECU who scored the equalizer in the 80th minute after UCF got a goal by Ellie Moreno in toward the end of the first half. But they went 2 overtimes. It went to a draw, and UCF does get the point out of it. But right now the Knights are in third, behind both Memphis and USF, who are tied for the lead at 3-0 in conference. So they've got 9 points each. UCF has 7. ECU having a pretty good season themselves, obviously, at 5. But now for UCF, here comes the stretch, right? Because you're at South Florida on Sunday, and then your last 2 home games, SMU and Houston. That loss to Memphis really kind of looms large at this point, even though it was on the road. And look at that. I mean, and we thought this would be a bit of a roadblock for them, Eric, because they had to play Memphis and South Florida at their places, and now they have that second huge road match coming up on Sunday the 21st against South Florida. This is going to be a huge game for them, but
huge. I mean,
this is a heavy lift. This is a really heavy lift for them.
Yeah, but they could turn their season around. They're 2-2-1. I had a lengthy conversation with Coach Sahadak. You can check that out on our YouTube page, Black and Gold Banneret, because she's frustrated because they dominated that East Carolina match. They outshot them 23-8. They controlled the corner. They controlled the match, but they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And they're struggling to put that, and she's frustrated with that. And I think they're close, but time's running out. And, you're hoping that they can kind of do what the men did to SMU here, do it to their rivals in South Florida. If you can knock them off, that could change your season around with all of a sudden, home matches with SMU and Houston to close strong and have some momentum into the conference tournament and try to get into the tournament that way. But it starts off with USF. So I think they're trying to find some answers themselves. They're so young. They have so many new faces. It might be a big ask to try to tell this team to be successful in a short sprint season, but that's what they've kind of been handed to. So this is a big match here. This is an opportunity here to turn it around, kind of like the men here against South Florida, Sunday night spotlight. Otherwise, they're probably going to have to win. They're obviously going to have to win the conference tournament to get a shot to make the tournament. So we'll see.
That's their last big one, because they got SMU, who's
Yeah, and the RPI has come out for women's soccer because they wanted to join the fun with volleyball for some reason. And I'm not even going to get into the numbers because they're very not good. So they're not very good. So
they do not have reliable data.
I guess. I don't know. It's not good. That's all I know. It's not good. Not good. Yeah. And then they're in the same boat. Women's soccer's in the same boat. Can they get 1 or 2 teams in? Remains to be seen if they beat each other up. But again, it all starts with the South Florida match. Maybe that's the turning point for this team.
All right. I want to check in on tennis here real quick. The men's tennis team, over this past weekend on Saturday, they swept FAU in Boca rather easily. It's a FAU team that's receiving votes. And now they have this huge weekend right here, Eric Lopez. Friday, 5 p.m. at Tallahassee at Scott Speicher. against Florida State. And then Sunday at number 17, Georgia. Remember, that was rescheduled from February 13th at the Dan McGill Tennis Complex. And you'll be able to watch that one. But, man, is this a huge spot for them, for men's tennis, with these two games against an ACC and an SEC foe. And they're right at 7-2 right now. They moved up again in the ITA. But this is the show me weekend for them, too, isn't it?
It really is. They've been rolling, and obviously Florida State, a lot of rivalry there. We know how that ended a couple years ago in the tournament, very controversially in Gainesville and all that. Georgia, obviously, that's rescheduled. So this is a big push here for John Roddick and company. We'll know after this, are they a contender to possibly be a national seed, possibly host the NCAA? They're going to host a conference tournament. Can they host maybe a NCAA regional? Who knows? But we're going to learn a lot about this team in this stretch here with Florida State, Georgia, even Arkansas at home.
Yeah.
Listen, people like me, don't waste your time buying tickets to the Miami Open, right? Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal have already pulled out. Watch some college tennis, okay? That's
best tennis in the state of Florida is going to be at the USTA National Tennis Complex.
That's what I'm saying. That's
not going to be in Key Biscayne. So, with
all due respect, Murph, to your girl Pagula, I know that she's the exception.
Jesse.
Women's, by the way, they got 15 days off. They don't play this weekend. They played their last game their last match against UNF, beat them 6-1. Boy, it's UNF weekend for UCF sports this weekend, huh? Their next match is Sunday the 28th at noon.
It's SMU
at home against SMU,
conference.
and then they do that Oklahoma trip in the first weekend in April, where they face Oklahoma State and Oklahoma and Stillwater and Norman respectively, before coming back to the Sunshine State to finish things before the postseason. So keep an ear out for UCF women's tennis. A couple things also that I want to catch up on here real quick. Rowing, by the way, is back in action for the first time since February 27th. They are at home at the Intercollegiate Rowing Center on Lake Pickett. They're facing Stetson and Jacksonville in a tripartite meet on Saturday, March the 20th. So keep an eye on that. That's before they go out to Charlottesville for the UVA Invitational, and that's a big meet up there that they have up at UVA. So and that's next weekend. So a couple things, we're going to start finding out some things about rowing. Can they win 6 straight American Athletic Conference titles? We're going to find out. And then the outdoor season gets underway this weekend for UCF Track and Field with the Black and Gold Invitational on Friday and Saturday at the UCF Track and Soccer Complex as well. That's going to be a busy facility with soccer and track and field taking place. I mean, it's going to be wild. This is it's their first of 2 home meets, by the way, because they have the Knights Invitational on April 24th. But this is the traditional season kickoff for them at home in mid-March. And by the way, I love the track meets at home. Those are fun events, and if you do get the chance, I don't know for spectators, but if they get the chance to actually view things, come on down and watch it, because it's a lot of fun. It's just a cool time. College track meets are a good time, man. It's great stuff. Couple things we want to talk about. Murph, you've got some kudos to pass out for a young man who actually was a student at UCF who now is going into the NBA. How did we let this kid get off the campus? Let's talk about Jason Preston of Ohio. If we're not going to have any UCF teams in the men's tournament, at least we can root for this guy, right?
Well, I feel like we should talk, a little bit about the men's NCAA tournament. If we're not going to make our picks, can we at least take one player from the tournament and adopt him as our own? And if there is that one player, it would be Jason Preston. For the Ohio Bobcats, who are in the 13 seed playing the 4-seeded Virginia Cavaliers. Kind of a popular upset pick in some brackets because Virginia's been dealing with some quarantine.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Well, their star player is a guy named Jason Preston. Now, his future might be in the NBA either this year or next. Here's why that is so significant. At the age of 16, Jason, who went to high school at Boone, was really not playing much at Boone. Actually, in his last year at Boone, he averaged 1 basket a game. And This was after his mother had died during his junior year of lung cancer. His father was not in his life. He was living with a family friend. He wanted to play the basketball, but he was 6 foot, 140 pounds. So in the summer of, I believe, 2017, he started summer classes as a college freshman at UCF. He intended to be a sports journalist. Thank you very much. He was actually doing some basketball writing, some freelance basketball writing. So that's what he wanted to do. And then on a whim, a friend said that they had an open spot for an AAU on an AAU team. So he played a little bit there. He got some and from that he got some notoriety from a prep school in Tennessee. But then when he got to Tennessee to go to this prep school, the coach that recruited him to this prep school in Tennessee got fired like 2 weeks after he got on campus. So
by the way, this thing is called the Believe Sports Academy in Athens, Tennessee.
Right. So the new coach doesn't know who Jason is. He's kind of growing into his body a little bit, but he barely plays again. So what he does is takes the clips of him playing in these prep games, and for a while he was playing on the second string prep team, like the B team, but he takes these clips of him playing and has a friend sort of set them to music and makes a mixtape out of it and puts it on social media. And Ohio University sees this and offers him a scholarship. And now Jason Preston, who was 6 foot 140 a few years ago, is now 6'4", about what, 180? I forgot his actual stats.
He's listed on Ohio's site as 6'4", 187 sophomore.
Right. He's averaging 18 points with 7 rebounds and 7 assists a game. He's basically done that for 2 years in a row for the Bobcats. He's projected to be possibly a second-round NBA draft pick, maybe this year or maybe next when he's a senior next year.
He's got a 50-40-70 split.
Yeah, it's not bad.
The kid can play.
I mean, and again, the thing that and you wouldn't blame schools for not recruiting him. Again, his body was not developed at all. He had not played at high school. He didn't do anything, and so he wanted to just go to college, and then on a whim gets a chance, and now here he is. So if you want a rooting interest for the tournament, there is a UCF student at least in this tournament, and he's really good.
Former UCF journalism student Jason Preston of the Ohio Bobcats.
Former aspiring, and again, he only took one.
He could have been writing for us. Instead, he's playing for.
Oh my God! I mean, that's obviously
things worked out well,
right?
Yeah, I think it worked out.
You either play in the NBA or you write for the Banneret. It's really one or the other.
I know.
He only took one semester. I think he took one summer semester of journalism classes at UCF. But hey, that's good enough.
That
in fairness, I mean, I could see why he wouldn't. Yeah, I could. Depending on who he had as a professor, I could see why he would.
Oh,
I hear some sour grapes happening up in here. What is up with that? Wow.
I think that is by far the cheapest shot of the night.
The ref is going to take a point away there, Eric. I'm sorry.
That's very low.
Okay, but all right, Jason Preston of Ohio. He's who we're looking for. Yeah, he's averaging 16.8 points, 6.4 rebounds, 7.4 assists. He's shooting 51% from the field, 40.7% for three-point range, and he's a pretty good foul shooter too.
Should we have put in a virtual credential to cover that angle? Are we missing the boat here?
Are we missing the boat? Is it too late? Did we miss the boat? I don't know. Possibly. By the way, for those who are wanting to tune in, I believe they play Saturday night against Virginia. I have the schedule here.
Lock it in, baby.
We got it. I don't think it's late. I think you could, Murph. You've got the connections. I think you could pull it off. You got to get that.
Murph, you're gonna go up to Indianapolis to follow Jason.
I didn't say he has to go to Indianapolis. He could just, there's virtual credentials. Like I'm doing virtual credentials for the women's tournament. I mean, there's a UCF angle there. I want to know who's the professor he had because that could have influenced his decision. I really do.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't even. By the way, so Jason and the Ohio Bobcats will play Saturday night. The game will scheduled to tip at 7:15 on True TV.
Hey, True TV making its annual appearance in your consciousness.
Yes.
Gosh, that's all. All right, Jason Preston. He's who we're going to look for here. And real quick, we're going to wrap up a little bit of football. All right.
A little
bit. We're finishing strong. We got spring practice underway, so that's
kind of
a
important.
good thing. I mean, it's spring practice, you know.
I have one anecdote from spring ball.
All right, what do you got?
And I know, like, you see, like Jeff doesn't want anything to do with this. I totally get it, but we were out there on Monday.
I saw your tweet, by the way, which is great. I've seen 2 snaps, and we're going to win the national title.
Again, I feel like the reaction to that tweet is sort of like when people like cheering me on.
72 to -6.
Yeah, I want people to understand, like, I'm being fully sarcastic in every single sense because, like, spring ball doesn't really mean anything. It's just nice to see, like, guys in shells doing work and guys in pads doing work. But, like, you know, I do it every year. I say, like, you know, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, this workout session that I saw. But, like, I will say, so we were out there on Monday, the first spring practice of the session, and there's a few different things that are different. One, there's no music. Man, they used to be blaring when Hyper was here.
Yeah, well, and Gus explained that on Monday. They will have music, but right now he doesn't want to have music because they're kind of implementing the system. So he wants everybody to listen and hear. So that's why there's no music for now. Once because right as he goes into it, they're implementing this process. They want to know how the players how they digest it, and it's a learning curve right now. So that's why he's kind of being like he's really a teacher. He talks about how he relates to coaches. It's very fascinating. So there will be no music for now.
And so so the only thing you really hear over the loudspeaker is Gus's voice going, session 3. Like, all right, we got it. But we're actually seeing more as far as much like substance as you can get out of spring practice. We're actually seeing a little bit more in the 20 minutes we get to see than we ever did during Heupel, because when Heupel was running spring practice, and this is no dig at him, but what we got to see is usually what we got to see is guys doing stretches and like lunges and skips, maybe doing some sled drills, maybe some quarterback wide receiver one-on-one
jumping
stuff.
jacks, various other calisthenics.
Yeah, like 15 to 20 minutes basically be calisthenics, right? And so it was interesting to actually see, like, watching the defense run some actual live drills a little bit, where they would have like a pick six drill where they have the DB go back and then have everyone build the wall for him as he ran all the way to the end zone, and then they would have a chase after the ball drill, chase the guy along the sideline drill, like some actual work that we didn't get to see usually during spring practice. And my favorite part of that was, while these defensive drills are going on in the field nearest to us, usually the quarterbacks are on the field furthest from us. We're only allowed to be in a very small area. But Travis Williams is in the back, and at the end of each drill, like a Roman emperor, he'll give a thumbs up or a thumbs down as to whether or not it was good enough and whether or not we need to do it again. And I love it. It's
That's
just
outstanding.
It's so lovely. So there was a drill. I forgot what drill it was, but there was a drill, and then everybody turns around and looks, and he gives the thumbs down, and you can just go like, "Oh no, do it again, do it again." Like,
Does he do the thing like what's his name in Gladiator, where he like feels like it's going up and then he goes down?
Yeah, no, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do the AAA fake out. No. No, he does not do the Joaquin Phoenix.
Thank you, Joaquin Phoenix. I couldn't remember.
Yes, but it was fun. And then I look forward to sort of on Saturday they will hold spring practice inside the stadium, inside the football stadium. That'll be fun. We'll be able to go out and see that. And so I don't love going out to spring practice a ton because, like, what can you really see? Not a whole lot. You're there to soak it in for a few minutes, maybe take a few pictures. But that's all about it. Like, you're not going to see anything substantial. But it'll be nice to see it in the setting of the stadium on Saturday. And then, Jeff, this all leads up to the big game. The big game.
Spring game.
The biggest spring game of all time.
April 10th at noon. We have a time for that. Saturday, April 10th at noon. No tailgating or any of that, but you can show up, watch a little football, see how the new team looks. I think it's pretty good. By the way, got a little sound from practice as well. We got Gus. Here's Gus Malzahn talking about what he wants to see over the spring, and we're going to wrap with Dylan Gabriel talking about the difference that he noticed between practice now under Coach Malzahn and the practices in the past. Let's listen.
Yeah, we're going to be fairly simple. We're just going to build the foundation. For us as coaches, it's two things. We're building the foundation of what we are offensively, defensively, and special teams, and we're evaluating, where we're going to put the pieces of the puzzle, try to figure out what our strengths are, try to figure out what our weaknesses are, and build around our strengths. And really, more than anything, I know offensively is putting the guys in the right position for what we want to see in the fall. So it's a combination of those two things. We're going to go very slow. We're going to lay the foundation. We're going to get good at things before we leave the spring. And that's really our goal. So we're going to go extremely slow. I think we've got 6 days of install, and we're going to come back and reinstall the 6 days. So, we're not going any more than that. And then it kind of fits in with evaluating our players. I mean, that's going to be real critical to developing, our plan offensively and defensively and special teams until we, get a couple of recruiting cycles and you recruit specific to certain positions.
Just how organized it is. And, truly I'm just focused on, the present. The past has happened, but, we're here. The future of college football is here. And we're really excited to go with it. Coach Gus just basically told us how it's going to go from start to begin, or from beginning to end, and we were able to talk about it. Know exactly what reps we're going to do here, and just walked us through it. So it was super organized, and it showed.
All right, so this Dylan Gabriel and Eric, just listening to some of the things that Dylan had to say, and I think Anthony Montalvo was out there too on Monday.
Yep.
It just seemed like they were choosing some interesting words. We talk about the changes this year compared to last. Did you get the sense that they were maybe taking a little digs at their former coaching staff?
I would say there's a little shade over there. A little shade. I mean,
a little shade from the hot Florida sun.
The Gabriel comment was answering John Alba's question about comparing the practices now to the past, and the fact they were more organized. People are like, whoa, wait, did he just say that? And that, Montalvo talked about from a defensive line standpoint. And by the way, you can catch this on our YouTube page at Black Gold Banneret. He talked about, look, the defense didn't perform like their abilities. Some of the guys weren't really into it. And, he's not blaming all of it on the coaches, but some of it was. It was kind of like it was the players' fault and the coaches. They weren't holding back. It was well,
they were kind of holding back, but you could read between the lines here.
Murph, it reminded me, and I told you this after I was done with it, it reminded me of Baseball Media Day, Greg Lovelady's first year, where the baseball players were pretty much telling you they were pretty pleased that Terry Rudy wasn't here. Like, hey, how's it going? Well, it's going great, because pretty much telling you because that guy ain't here anymore. And I kind of felt the same way. I think there's a renewed energy. I mean, Dylan Gabriel talked about he looks up to Gus, and that he's going to push him to be a better quarterback, and he looks forward to that. I mean, it was very fascinating. These players talking about how they care about them as individuals. I mean, how many times has that been said, Murph? How many more times do we have to keep hearing, hey, they really care about us as players, not just football players? Like, whoa, like where?
I mean, we've heard that from every coach who's ever coached any every team ever. And so that's the thing. But I do think the organization, part is a little, it perks your ears up a little bit. And hey, look, maybe some of that is just due to the fact that with the new coach in here, after the last couple of years where like Dylan knows the system, maybe practice had become a little bit more lax under Heupel because everyone knows what kind of offense they're running. But now you're learning, a new coach's terminology, a new system, so everything needs to be more organized. I'm kind of putting a different
the other thing Montalvo says, and it makes a ton of sense. Everybody's, they know there's no favoritism. There's no jobs are open here because it's a new coach, and so everybody's kind of into it. They're geared up, which I thought was an interesting comment. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's. Everybody's bought in. If there was any questions about, oh man, I don't know, they're going to buy into the coach or this is not the guy they want. No. They've bought in. They've bought in. They've bought into Travis Williams and his style too. Talk about the energy he's bringing on the defense, that he's funny and entertaining. So they're bought in. And Gus even said he was really like the competitiveness of the players on the practice field. So it's going to be different. And I think it's very unique. He's obviously been more accessible, which is kind of what you were kind of teasing there, Murph, right? Is that kind of where you were leaning there? A little more accessible compared to the previous times there a little bit, just a little bit. Slightly. I mean, not to like rub it in, but he's already done more TV interviews than like the last guy did in his entire run here. So it's pretty good. But look, it's exciting. I got to be honest. I'm in a normal year, I would be with you guys scoffing and laughing about this, mocking the spring stuff. But I do think it's exciting. I don't recall. It may be the Frost one, right, Jeff? We've talked about this. First year with Frost, where everybody was kind of interested in that first run. Like, we understand it's spring and all that, but there is this energy of excitement, if you will, this kind of curiosity. Probably we had that with Frost in that first year, but I think it's very similar, and it feels bigger for whatever reason. Just because, I mean, Gus is a big name. Scott was kind of unproven when he was here. Gus is a big name, and I think he's done a great job so far in communicating with the fan and getting the fan base to buy in, using the media by talking to them and talking to them like human beings and not acting like they're trying to kill him.
More shade from me. Murph, this is an all-time Eric Lopez episode that we are witnessing right now.
That's what you get on St.
This is a career performance.
This is
No, but I know seriousness. I appreciate how he's handled the media, because I've seen Brian and Brandon and all these guys. They're not asking like the most like, hey, why do you guys blow that game? They're asking fair questions, and I think they deserve respect. And I think they're getting that from the staff, and I think that's a good thing.
I will say, Eric, I can't tell you how many times the fans have wanted me to ask that exact same question, though. Why you blow this game?
What happened out there?
Why'd you choke? Why'd you
choke? Why do you guys suck? Fans.
But I like the fact that Gus is admitting, like, look, this is a process. It's going to take some time. We're not going to rush it. We want to make sure these guys learn the system, and we're going to teach it to them. And they're not going to, and I think that's to your point, Murph. That's why it's more organized, because, he's going to make use of all these practices, and he wants to make sure that these guys grasp the systems in both offensively and defensively. Yeah. And he knows that's going to take it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take and that's what's gonna be really interesting. It might be a rather uneven spring game, but who knows? I'm interested to see it.
Complain about the noon kick, for God's sake. It's
I
a
know.
spring game, all right.
But I mean, are they even really kicking off? Like, is that the term we're gonna use? Like, but they're gonna start the game at noon. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a really interesting. Yeah, it's the curiosity factor is back. I think that's what we can say. The curiosity factor is back. All right. Wrap up with some NFL free agency news, including some UCF guys. All right. Shaquille Griffin. He's coming back home, sort of. He's coming to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's not going to Tampa Bay. But Shaquille signs a big unrestricted free agency deal. 3 years, $44 million, I think, and Murph, correct me on this, $29 million of it guaranteed. If I'm not
something
mistaken.
like that.
And there are.
I think.
Yeah. So he's coming to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Schefter first reported it, and Shaquem is nothing's been announced, but he is likely, from what I see, to follow him to Jacksonville. Is that right?
It seems to be like he's teasing it a little bit on Twitter. So maybe we're reading too deep into the leaves there, but I feel like I just mixed a metaphor. But
you did.
So we don't know yet. He is a free agent officially now. We'll see. But I imagine that if there is a team that should be considered the favorite for Shaquem, it is certainly Jacksonville.
Yeah. So that's something that we'll have to keep a close eye on there.
Murph, does that mean, you could have to pay a little visit to training camp over there? You've got an open invite.
I do have an open invite to see Nate Evans, so I'd be like, Nate, it's been great talking to you. So where are the other guys?
Yeah. Adrian Killen's got a 2-year contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. They decided to bring him back into the fold. Got a little bit of last year, wasn't that overly impressive, but at least he has shown enough to them that they're like, all right, let's keep this going here for a little bit, see what we got. So that's good news for AK coming back on a 2-year contract. And speaking of 2-year contracts, the Arizona Cardinals have brought in Matt Prater, 36 years old. Matt is still kicking in the NFL. 2-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals, where, by the way, do we know the elevation of Phoenix, Arizona?
I mean, Google does. I don't, but like.
Well,
saying, like,
is it? Wait, first of all, don't they play in Glendale and not Phoenix?
Well, it's just outside of Phoenix.
They
all right, 1,000 feet above sea level, so it's not mile high kind of stuff. I thought it was higher, but anyway, the reason why I ask is
if you look at Matt's entire career, he's played in Denver, Detroit, and now Arizona. Like he's played in some friendly kicking environments. He's not playing in East Rutherford.
Yeah, it's true. True. So I mean, he'll have the chance to continue his long run of kicking well in the NFL.
And there's a big rippling effect with the reason he's departing is because Detroit is going with our boy Matthew Wright.
That's right. Wow.
Two UCF kickers. I think Matt's going to compete for the job in Detroit. I think they have a few guys who are in there. So, but
he's winning that job. You don't just appear on the banneret and not win that job. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Banneret bump.
Well, he's our favorite. Yeah, the banneret bump is real. And by the way, Prater unseating both Zane Gonzalez and Mike Nugent from 2019 and 2020. So anyway, it's good to see Matt back in the NFL again, and hopefully for 2 more years, and we'll see what happens after that. So,
I think people got really excited when the John Brown got signed off of the Bills, only to see Emmanuel Sanders get signed onto the Bills.
Yeah. We were thinking, oh boy, Gabe Davis is going to be a starter this year, and then Emmanuel Sanders just parachutes in.
He's still going to be a starter, right? He's still going to be a starter because they're running 3 and 4 wides out there anyway. But I love that pickup for the Bills. I love the pickup for Gabe because Emmanuel Sanders got just a wealth of knowledge. He's still really good, even at his age. It's amazing. He tore his Achilles a couple years ago, and he still looks really spry. It would be nice if Gabe could, slot in as the number 2. But, I don't know. He made a bunch of big plays last year, but I think I saw a lot of what I saw in college, and they probably saw a guy who probably still needs to do a lot of work on his route running and route tree stuff. He does a lot of deep routes really well, but it's the finer things of, just being, a tactician at the position that probably he doesn't have down yet. But I mean, guys man, if you want to talk about a good route runner, I mean, now he's got Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders. These guys are the absolute best of the best in the NFL. So
sounds to me like Murph's picking the Bills. For
Josh Allen, man.
Here, huh?
I love me some Josh Allen. I don't even.
Wow.
Maybe hanging out with Jamie.
We need to go back into the archives and see.
You and Jamie are zooming like Buffalo Bills talk while we wait for coaches and players to talk. I mean, what are we going on?
Murph is going to become an honorary Bills Mafia member.
I will say, I feel if there was a non-Giants team that I could tie my wagon to, it'd be Buffalo.
Wow. Hey, the Giants got a big signing in John Ross.
Dude, I know this is way off track. This is not even UCF adjacent. Now I'm on a tangent here. Aren't you glad we saved this to the final segment?
Yes.
If Kenny Galladay signs the Giants, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna love it. Please sign Kenny Galladay, please.
What are you talking about? John Ross ain't the answer? By the way, can we give a UCF shout out? Justin McCray signing a 2-year deal with the Houston Texans. How about that? Getting 2 years, $4 million. Finally, the Texans do something right.
I know. It's I'm just man, Justin. Oh boy, Houston. Good luck.
No,
we're pulling for you, man.
He's got an NFL job. He's got an NFL job.
NFL job. I know. It's Houston. It's
him and Jordan Akins.
Sorry, Jeremy Brenner, but ooh boy, it's kind of a mess over there. But hopefully he can be a stabilizing force.
That's right. With Tyrod Taylor, leading him in the way. I mean,
So
I don't know.
That's what we're aiming for on that.
And Clayton Gether says he wants to keep playing.
Yes.
So if he can see if he can latch on somewhere. And then, of course, does Brashad Perriman do anything? Is he going to re-up for the Jets? They just signed Corey Davis, or did they go to go somewhere else?
Maybe he goes to Jacks. Can't we just get them all to Jacksonville?
Look, I feel like it's in like the Jags like franchise statement to have at least one UCF player on their roster at all times.
We appreciate that as friends of the show. We're going to take advantage of that, Murph. We got to take advantage of that. Now, you've got an invite. Like, you literally have an invite to training camp. I think you should you might have to use that. Depending. Then we got Pro Day for UCF, April 1st.
Yep.
I know, it's a couple weeks away. I mean, that's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be. I mean, actually, I'm actually looking forward to that because I hope we get to talk to some of those guys.
Yep.
Richie Grant, that'd be please.
April 1st.
A lot of buzz with him and Anders. And
they're both getting Robinson. A lot of play in the pre-draft scuttlebutt that's going on around here, which is good to see.
I hope people aren't upset if neither of them get picked in the first round. I think there's like, oh, please, that one of them will be picked in the first round. Maybe they will. But I don't think either of them fall outside the top 50, which is still really good.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. And we knew that.
And really, what you're really rooting for is to them to end up in a good spot. And that's really sometimes, that's more important. Like, I would rather, the players obviously want to get paid, but if you drop 10 spots further back than you thought, but you end up in a better situation, you're you're good to go.
What I think helps all those guys is, especially Aaron, and Richie's a fantastic safety, but Aaron has a lot of ability playing out wide and slot, a little bit more versatility than Richie, where Richie's more, I think, naturally a ball hawk. But that versatility kind of helps you no matter where you land. I think no matter where Aaron Robinson lands, like, he's gonna fit because he can lock guys down. He can lock guys on any space on the field. So
is that why he's kind of maybe the more likely one to go first, drafted somewhere, wherever they get drafted? He's probably the first pick, probably because of that.
I think he's got better cover skills. Absolutely, he's got much better cover skills. Richie is really good in run stop. Actually, one of the best in run stop as a safety, and really good ball hawking. But I think they want a guy who will latch onto someone's hip and just not let go. Not let go, not physically. You don't want to hold him. But that's Aaron. If you're looking at that guy out of the two, the better guy is Aaron Robinson. He's a better typical shutdown, corner safety DB. Whereas Richie is going to freelance a little bit. He'll help you out in the run game, but he's really there to make big plays. He's really there to make big plays in the back end, change games with picks, force fumbles, stuff like that. Aaron Robinson is going to try to lock down guys.
Why when I think of Richie Grant, do the Baltimore Ravens for some reason that name just appear? Like, does he not feel like a Baltimore Raven defender?
If he gets drafted by the Ravens, are we gonna get like Ed Reed? Like, you go like Ed Reed on me? Don't do that. Not yet. Oh boy. Yeah. So all right. Speaking of people who have to find homes, that's what we've done with this podcast. We've gotten that. So
that was some good football. I'm not gonna lie. That was
we finished strong with some good football talk. That's good. Draft is coming up around late April, so we'll be diving in on that real soon. Make sure you follow.
I appreciate the listeners staying tuned through 90 minutes to get to the dessert of the last 15 minutes of this podcast.
That's right. We give you the good dessert. We give you the meat and potatoes and the dessert. UCF_Banneret is where you can follow us on Twitter. That's where we have all the latest news coming from the world of UCF sports. You can follow us each individually there as well. Jeff_Sharon, Eric Lopez Elo, and Spokes_Murphy. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. And of course, don't forget blackandgoldbanneret.com, the mothership, the home of UCF sports on the SB Nation Network. Subscribe to our newsletter, the weekday newsletter put together every weekday by our very own Jeremy Brenner, providing all the latest news from in and around the world of UCF sports, not just stuff we write about, but from all over the place. And also, make sure you subscribe to our podcast via however you get your podcast, be it on iOS or Android. If you already subscribe to our podcast, thank you so much. You leave a rating and a review for us on whichever platform you listen to your podcast. And also, don't forget to tell a friend to subscribe to us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. So, follow us at Black and Gold Banneret, including Brian Murphy, and Eric Lopez. I'm Jeff Sharon saying thank you so much for joining us. Stick around. Later this week, we'll have our women's basketball NCAA preview show. Until then, go Knights and charge on. Thanks for listening.